What is up, John Alert Nation? Yes. Yes, it is Pizza Tower. Até porque o homem diz pizza. É grande som esta música, por acaso. É grande sonória. Oh, já acabou. Oh, agora estou com pena ter acabado. Eu nunca sei como é que a câmera vai estar. Isso é um... Olha, confesso que isso é um trope da minha parte que eu gosto. Cada vez que eu saio daquele screen, nunca sei se a câmera vai estar a apontar para o teto ou whatever. That's funny. Como é que é? Tudo bem? Bem dispostos? Olha, aquele gajo que eu gosto está aqui.
Everything is going just peachy. Marvel and video games.
Nós nunca na vida vamos jogar este jogo, apesar de gostarmos muito de Marvel, porque sabemos que é crap. Então é fixe. Este gajo faz, como é que se diz? Public service?
Games are an unlikely duo that have been creating good
Para mim
and
faz.
bad memories for several decades now. It doesn't matter the generation, you were able to save the day with whatever superhero was popular at the time. Swinging with Spider-Man, smashing with Hulk, snickting with Wolverine. Licensed titles like these ruled in the 90s and 2000s, which is
Viu o quê? Oh.
why it's all the more bizarre that we've never had a truly good Avengers game. I
Oh,
mean,
gosto.
it's one of the most famous teams in all of comics. The movies are some of the highest grossing of all time, and the comics are consistent
São bastante
sellers.
grossos.
Sure, we got Captain America and the Avengers, Lego Avengers, and Avengers in Galactic Storm, which is just bizarre, but nothing that's truly left
Tem
an
algum sono.
impression. That is, until 2020. Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix's Marvel's The Avengers. That's a mouthful. Insomniac's Spider-Man, along with Rocksteady's Arkham trilogy, brought superhero games back to the forefront after some unfortunate years with MCU tie-ins, so the expectations are higher now. However, instead of being a well-reviewed and fun classic,
Caramba.
Avengers is
Quero mesmo experimentar o... Peraí, o melatonina está mais barato? Piorou, 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 piorou. Ei, como é que eu apanho isto por... Ah, não está muito mais barato. Está só um quixote mais barato. Não é um mais barato, a sério. Eu pus aqui o melatonina, pus.
was one of the most notorious commercial failures of the last few
Bookshot.
decades. One with less than average review scores, a massive negative reception from gamers, and its own
Usam
handful
Mario
of
64.
controversies. This came out at peak everything must be games as a service, and it absolutely suffered from
I hate it so much. Eu não me canso de repetir isto. I hate this shit so much.
that.
Eu nunca tive boa vibe com jogos tipo Destiny e Apex e merdas assim.
Which is a shame, because it's something that I was originally really looking forward to. So, now that it's been out for a few years, got its final update, and is on the verge of being delisted forever, I figured, hey, why don't we give it a shot?
Oh, no.
I beat it 100% because I'm a freak, even further because I finished all the DLC and story expansions, got the plat, ruined my relationship
Como é que ele consegue? Eu pessoalmente não consigo fazer isto. Andar a fazer 100% aos jogos.
read the tie-in comic book, but not the 250-page novel because I can only do so much, and I am just one man.
Vocês conseguem,
Although
não é?
I'm sure it's filled with all kinds of cool
I'm proud of you.
descriptions like Hulk swinging his fists like crazy. The wait is over. Assemble yourselves, strap in, and get ready to wait 3 months at a time for the next part of the story as everyone slowly disappears around you. It's Avenging time. So yo, it's Austin, and today we've done the unthinkable. I've beaten Avengers 100%, so you don't have to, which is more like 100% plus, because this is the first games as a service I've covered that's actually gotten updates, which is kind of sad actually. Babylon's fault this is not, as you can still play it. For now.
God, I need to rest. I need to rest my head. Mas por acaso ver coisas como estas, para mim são relativamente comfy. Talvez consiga descansar agora.
The big ol' asterisk on the final update. Honestly, thinking about renaming this whole series something like Feelin' Gassy at this
Hoje é dia
point,
31,
because
amanhã
there's so
tenho que
many
pagar
failing games as a service, and I like me some wordplay. Like, feeling games as a service-y.
Fuck.
Terrible.
Tenho que pagar,
Terrible, I know.
tenho que pagar o cocó do cão também. Ih, que cena.
Oh, feeling gassy. We've got a lot
Ladrões.
of world
Ladrões,
saving,
pá.
avenging, and mindless grinding to do with friends, but before we get started, I need to talk about today's sponsor and a website that I've been using for a while, PlayAsia.
No,
if you're someone out there buying
PlayAsia.
imported video games, no doubt you've probably heard of PlayAsia.
Estou particularmente. Ontem estava ainda mais. Ontem estava muito mais particularmente cansado. Hoje sinto-me super energético. Ou seja, em relação a ontem, não é? Ou seja, estou aqui para o lado.
PlayAsia sells Japanese games, merch, figures, as
Pew,
well
pew,
as
pew,
dedicated
pew,
and
pew,
exclusive
pew,
Asia English
pew,
releases
pew,
for
pew,
those
pew, pew,
English releases only made
pew,
available outside
pew,
the States.
pew, pew,
I've
pew.
used them in the past
Mas olha, hoje estou mesmo muito melhor que ontem. Ontem eu estava tipo. Os olhos estavam a chorar tanto que eu estava tipo, pessoal, tenho que fechar os olhos e ir embora.
to buy a bunch
Mas
of
depois lá
things
fiquei
like
mais
Gundam
bocado.
Breaker 3 and the physical release of Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. You can also pick up other rare physical releases like Chrono Cross or from series like Super Robot Wars, Atelier, Fatal
Descansei,
Frame, you
time.
name it. And since all modern
Fatal
consoles don't
Frame.
have region locking, you don't have to worry about anything not working. With any Switch release, you just buy it and pop it right in. For those buying
Falar
digital
nisso.
releases,
Falar nisso. Há uma cena que eu gostava de. Nunca mais comprei jogos da PlayStation. Aquela consola, eu digo-te, é muito crap. É muito crap. No entanto, eu gosto de jogos de ritmo. Em particular, eu gosto deste jogo de ritmo. Isto existe na PS4? Claro que não. Não vale uma pizza PS4. O Loco Roco está na PS4? That's cool. That's a good idea. 54€ por isto. Xiça panico. Já saiu? O jogo do Miquinho para jogar convosco já saiu? Se calhar ainda não saiu. Ou em Before já saiu para aí há 3 meses ou assim. Como assim? Passou-nos ao lado, não é? Olha a trela da Zelda. Piu, 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 piu. Hello. Ei, anda cá, anda cá. Ei, 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 boa. Estou a fazer festinhas. se eu clicar nisto e vir a versão Pisa 4, é mais barato um bocadinho, não é? Olha lá, tem lá calma com o preço, pá. Foda-se. Pom, pom, patá, pom. Mas existe? Existe sequer? Ou foi só na PS3? Ah, está na Store. Está apenas e só na Store. Pão, pão, patapão, patapatapão, patapapapão. Para mim, é uma das melhores ideias para um jogo de ritmo que alguma vez vi. Eu não conseguiria imaginar. Não conseguiria conceber essa ideia.
You can also snag
De todo. Mas depois quando a vi foi tipo, what the... That's pretty good.
foreign currency cards, which is something I've done on this channel
Paste.
multiple times. Look, this website was the cheapest and only way for me to get a physical copy of Oni-Chanbara Origins for that video a few years ago.
Oh,
and
achemanama, daba
no
daba.
regrets. Also, any orders over $99 qualify for free international shipping anywhere in the world. And if you bought anything overseas
Cada vez
lately, you know that's a great
Cada vez que vocês compram jogos é mais de $100?
deal. So head on over to PlayAsia and use my new affiliate code Austin to save yourself 5% on any order over $25. Excludes eShop and PSN codes. You can use the code multiple times, and for anyone who already uses PlayAsia, it helps the channel a ton. Thanks so much to PlayAsia for the sponsor. But for now, we need to get back to the main event. The Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers. Now, I played this thing with the final
valor é um
patch,
bocado
the one that
arbitrário.
fixed everything, but there's a lot of history and things to get into here, so I think it'd be best to start at the beginning. Avengers is probably the prime example of why you shouldn't announce your video game too early. All the way back in 2017, Square Enix
What
and
a
Marvel
stupid
shadowed out the
idea.
trailer for the Avengers project.
Primeiro,
Essentially
okay.
just a slow pan over iconic heroes, weapons, and bits, while a voice was talking about reassembling.
That's another
Hashtag reassemble.
annoying.
Like most
Isso é outra coisa super annoying que tu também já sabes. Que, opa, epá, anunciem uma cena no máximo com um ano de antecedência. No máximo.
teasers, this was a whole lot of nothing, although the inclusion of Crystal Dynamics as developer
Em termos do que estão a planear. Porque é óbvio que as coisas podem correr mal, mas foda-se.
was neat. They were in the middle of the well-regarded Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, so the idea alone was not bad at all. This little teaser trailer got itself a whopping 13 million views over several years, so yeah.
Olha o Fantasporto. Não. Fábrica Pampas. É para aí 30 euros, não é?
You can't say there wasn't
Factorio.
interest. This popped out slightly before Infinity War 2, so memes and mainstream appeal was about to be at an all-time high. Square just needed
these
to
movies
strike
were
while
nice.
the Iron Man was hot, which of course means it's time for 2 years of
Man.
radio silence, all the way till E3 2019. Yeah, the one with Tetsuya Nomura wearing shorts and a track jacket. Closing Square Enix's show would be a 14-minute presentation on the Avengers. Square Enix, the company not known for this kind of thing. It was a bit jarring to say the least, especially considering the entire presentation focused heavily on anything but gameplay. If you want several minutes of voice actors you've heard countless times before talking about what it's like to play characters you already know, this is the reveal for you. The Avengers in this game would include
Yeah, eu lembro deste reveal ser...
Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, and of course Iron Man.
Skepticism.
A solid question, Mr. Guy in the crowd. I'm gonna ignore it. Oh, but here's a little teaser insinuating that Ant-Man might be playable in the future. Was he? No. Absolutely not. Considering this presentation happened after the release of the extremely good Spider-Man, I was actually pretty hopeful that
It
this
was
would
good.
be good.
Spider-Man
It had
was.
a decent enough publisher, a well-regarded developer, and a hot license that, if movie tickets were concerned, would make a killing. The problem
Olá, Aleph. Então, o que é que vais fazer? Não estranho? Tá bem. Espero que corra tudo bem. Boas férias. Pois é, tu disseste que ias estar de férias.
was the announcement of Avengers becoming a live games as a service. It wouldn't be like the 3 times over fantastic Marvel Ultimate Alliances. It wouldn't even be a solid single player game like Arkham Asylum. It was going to be a multiplayer online RPG, but only kind of. Even after a full 14-minute presentation, it's still very difficult to understand what kind of thing Avengers was going to be. But it just turns out that the answer was Destiny 2. Loot? Oh yeah, all kinds of
A
loot.
sério, eu percebi imediatamente que ia ser o Destiny.
real money
E que vomitei logo.
and in-game
Paulada.
currencies. Let's go. The
Eu tenho que começar a arranjar um balde para quando estou a ver eventos de jogos.
announcement of this game was met with a big ol' whatever from people, as I think decades of bad superhero games and potentially burnout poisoned the water a bit. But there was still enough hype. In concept alone, it was a 3D multiplayer
Está na hora das streams do Aleph voltarem, pá.
beat 'em up starring a bunch of crazy powerful superheroes
Aleph e Roguelite. Name a better duo.
in Black
There's no
Widow. As
better
long as
duo.
it's got a fun story, good writing, and decent gameplay, it could be great. Although I find it very strange that they waited several months to reveal the final main character, Miss Marvel. Kamala
Man, Miss Marvel. Jesus. This is the cringiest shit. Este character é a coisa mais cringe. Estava a ver um filme qualquer no cinema e estavam a anunciar. A Marvel já está mais que morta, não é? Mas estava. E pronto, no meio dessa morte, vocês ainda saem uns zombies. E o zombie era um filme da Miss Marvel, que por si só já é o Jesus Christ. Mas era Miss Marvel com a outra puta que também é horrível, a atriz. Que foi tipo o pior filme da Marvel. Então vou juntar esta gaja a essa gaja. Jesus Christ.
Khan. Yeah, you see her on the box?
Imagina meterem o cocó, pegarem no cocó todo e meterem todo num filme. Vai pessoal, mas também já não estava interessado em não, por isso. Ninguém vai ver. Eu não percebo a ideia.
Right there.
That's
Kind of
pretty
weird
late.
they waited that long considering she's like the main protagonist for most of this thing. But hey, gamers. After this and a couple trailers, we'd get a 4-month delay all the way into September, and of course, some prequel tie-in comics with the Gamerverse logo on it, so you know exactly what you're getting. This just sets up the Avengers as they already exist in the universe, some team turmoil, and a little background info on characters you probably already know. Besides setting up some antagonists, they're nothing too special, but definitely there for those buying this game with no idea who any of these characters
Como
are.
é que se chama o filme? The Marvel Yes Queens? Provavelmente vai ser só jokes desse género. O trailer parecia tão mau. Como é que se chama? The Marvels. I'm
Are
scoffing,
all,
dude. I'm
One of
scoffing
you.
right
Come
now.
launch day, and well, it wasn't that long, as I'm sure you remember. Avengers was demolished in reviews. It wasn't often that a big budget AAA would come out to a plethora of 6s, but the reviews came swinging. Then the glitch compilations, then the hyperbolic YouTube reviewers. Marvel's Avengers was heralded as one of the worst games of 2020 in the same year as Fast and Furious Crossroads, and that's just kinda sad. However, it doesn't end there. Not just because of the console load times, which are some of the longest I've ever encountered, but because it
Credo.
was a live service game, which meant we were promised updates, a full roadmap of them. Over time, we get 4-story DLC packs, a few events,
Disgusting.
side missions, free characters, glitch fixes, and small little things here and there, but nothing that could combat the rapidly shrinking player base. Don't forget PlayStation exclusive character Spider-Man, because screw every single Xbox and PC owner out there.
No.
So immediately, you destroy a bunch of potential sales and communities on other platforms because there's a disregard for the people who might potentially play your game. I mean, it's Spider-Man, probably the most popular superhero, even if he's kind of low tier. However, Avengers is like 2 games in one. It
Hey.
shoves the multiplayer
What does that mean? Being low tier? Em termos de poder? Não percebi.
gassy stuff into the end game.
No jogo? Low tier na tier. Who gives a shit, man? Este jogo tem tiers, cara. Este jogo não tem players. Se não tem players, não tem tiers.
Giving you a solid 10-hour campaign to beat first, but also one that you could just skip if you felt like it. The history, patches, and development of this thing is well documented at this point, so let's take it to the modern day. I never actually started this until the final patch, the game that you can find frequently on sale for the price of a Big Mac, and that's what I'm taking a look at.
I'd buy that for $1.
Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics tried their best to support this thing, but unfortunately, the last year has not been kind to them. Square sold off Eidos for dumb NFT games. They were picked up by Embracer, and in January of 2023, they announced a final patch and a delisting date.
Fuck,
The ultimate
man. O que é que vai acontecer ao Tomb Raider agora?
sign off. This final patch went and removed all servicey elements, making it a normal ass action RPG with a normal grindy loot system and flicking on the all cosmetics for free button, granting all purchasable outfits to all players. Things that cost literally the night before several dollars, which of course made people who sank money into it mad. Even in death, gamers are upset. As of today, it's the end of July 2023, 2 months before you can't buy the game digitally anymore. Crystal Dynamics and Square are allegedly keeping the servers up beyond that date, but with these things, you never know. So without any further ado, it's time to take a look at the final and definitive version of Embracer's Square Enix's Crystal Dynamics Marvel's The Avengers. I did it. On the PlayStation 5, of course, it turns out that you can skip several minutes of staring at your thumbs waiting for loading times with the power of an SSD. In my experience, it might actually
SSD.
be less glitchy than the PlayStation 4 one, but we'll get to that later. Like I said earlier, Avengers is kind of a buy one, get one video game of two things that almost have nothing in common, kind of like Doom 2016 had multiplayer. Everyone forgot about that. Well, Avengers has a full single-player campaign, so let's get started with that. If I had to pick one word to describe the story, it would be expensive. The Avengers looks and feels AAA, maybe even pushing into that Sony quadruple A territory. The visuals are fantastic. Everything has this beautiful shine to it, and just about every scene in the game is voice acted and choreographed. The cutscenes alone clocking around Infinity War runtime, let alone the other stuff, so there's plenty to talk about. Avengers is a story about redemption, which you probably already knew considering they were promoting it with #reassemble. But it's not done the way I thought it would be. We open up with a celebration of Avengers Day at their West Coast headquarters, but we're not Tony Stark or Bruce Banner, we're a small child who wrote some fan fiction. Kamala Khan was selected as a, and I'm not joking, finalist in a fan fiction competition. You walk around a decorated area with Avengers-themed attractions, trying to collect all the comic books to get yourself into a VIP area. There's actually a lot of cute moments with the characters here, some of which I'm totally gonna ruin later. Although I'd like to think anytime Thor calls Mjolnir in a situation like this, it totally mows down a bunch of innocents. At a certain point, you overhear Dr. Banner and a Monica Rappaccini arguing about how the numbers don't add up before, oh hey, tragedy. You take turns lightly playing as each Avenger, fighting off random baddies on the Golden Gate Bridge. Taskmaster's here to ruin the celebration, and it's a pretty decent tutorial segment for a game that I've heard was terrible. Each hero controls vastly different from the others, the combo systems are simple yet flexible, and there's a whole lot of impact whenever you hit someone. Unlike Gotham Knights, where a dude won't react super well to my onslaught, in Avengers, I'm doing some Tekken-style juggling, and that's exactly what goons are made for.
The freaking best!
Eventually, the Chimera dropship explodes because, as we learned earlier, the numbers aren't right, and it absolutely destroys San Francisco. The crystal powering the ship blankets the entire city in Terrigen mist, which leads to the creation of Inhumans in the normal population. Captain America's dead, and the Avengers disband. It's a bit dire, but in games and stories, nothing we haven't seen before. Zip ahead 5 years, and you're playing as Kamala, newly Inhuman as well. Advanced Idea Mechanics, or shorter AIM, has taken over the place of the Avengers and has now dedicated themselves to curing Inhumans. And TLDR, a new company wants to create mechanical biosoldiers to replace superheroes. You know, your typical eugenics-loving, human experimentation-doing megacorporation antagonist. As it turns out, Kamala is seeking to be a part of the Resistance, and while browsing on Not Reddit, stumbles upon a video of AIM scientist George Charlton maybe not being responsible for everything, including Cap's death, all by guessing Tony Stark's password,
Oh, no.
I am Iron Man. Ridiculous?
Jesus.
Yes. Every story gets one. From here, Kamala gets a warning from a tiny dancer who's totally not Black Widow, has to run from a mercenaries, #reassemble the Avengers, and save the day. The story of Marvel's Avengers is a bit self-insert at times, and I think that may be by design. Kamala's a character whose origin comes from her being a massive fan of the original Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers. She's supposed to be this geeky uber nerd who wants to, as the first quest title implies, become an Avenger. Theoretically, you could have just made this an original character. I just don't think that most people were expecting her to be the person that you control and follow heavily for more than half of this game. She is great though. It's like playing as Luffy.
Yo! Don't give it up. Monkey to Luffy.
From everything I heard about
Monkey
Avengers,
the
I was under
Luffy.
the impression that this thing was gonna suck. And
Nice
maybe it was
editing.
a big glitchy version at launch, but for this video, the final patched version, I thought the game was alright. I'd even say the word good. If Avengers was only a single player
Vocês estão a ver a razão pela qual nunca devem comprar um jogo no primeiro mês, nem no primeiro ano, nem nos primeiros 5 anos. Comprem o jogo só depois de 10 anos de ter saído. Aí sim.
Campaign
Aí
around
sim está
like
pronto.
10 or 12 hours long, I think it would have been remembered a lot more fondly. We'll get into the specifics of the DLC and multiplayer later, but for now we need to focus on the core of it all, the gameplay. If you want to punch people and feel good while doing it, Avengers is pretty okay. I mean, look, I can pick up a dude as Hulk. In fact, I can dual wield people to use as weapons. It's hard to go wrong with that. Each of the Avengers is unique and have skill trees that can expand their movesets greatly. Black Widow uses multiple guns and can grapple flying dudes. Hulk does in fact smash and can bounce around while swinging his fists like crazy. The totally not dead Captain America combines melee and ranged attacks with his shield, although it's hard not to want to just do this. I love sound effects. Thor has this as well. Mjolnir has a nice anytime you slam into people, like literally hitting someone with a kitchen sink. I mean, you can even throw the hammer at enemies, pin them to a wall, and beat them up while they're helplessly stuck. This is the coolest thing. Miss Marvel does a nice Luffy impression, and it's pretty fun to watch and control. There's a lot of highly detailed animations and wacky scaling going on with her character in particular, and there's really nothing better than her ranged attack.
Gamu Gamu no!
Yep, you can upgrade that to a grab as well. This bonk is never not funny. Not to mention, Iron Man might be the best controlling version of him that we've ever had in a video game. I mean, it's no Anthem, which was basically an entire thing for that, but your ability to hot swap between different ranged attacks and flying modes on the fly works really well here.
On the
As you
fly?
level up each character, you can change the way certain things function and unlock further combo extenders. Like their specs here. They really went hog wild on this with the DLC characters, which we'll bring up later, but all I'm gonna say is, Devil May Cry fans are gonna be blushing. Each hero has 50 levels of skill points and upgrades that aren't just a small number increase. Everyone also has unique takedowns, some of which are hilarious. If you've ever wanted to watch Thor pin someone down with his hammer, get on the ground, and then count 1, 2, 3, this is the game for you. Lots of wrestling fans on the dev team for sure. With each level, you control one or more of these heroes as you follow whatever objective comes before you. They're mostly linear set pieces, but you'll occasionally be tossed into a war zone that have multiple objectives. Bosses function as you would think, but there's not that many of them. It's a bit of a slow start, but when you're in the zone and beating up legions of baddies while doing whatever video gamey objective is thrown your way, well, I can't complain. Growing up, a similar game would be like Marvel Nemesis, the Ultimate Alliances, or X-Men Legends. The actual combat was very limited in best cases, and at its worst, Marvel Nemesis, stinky Nemesis. But to have 6 different playable characters out of the gate with systems as deep as this is something I didn't think I'd ever see. However, and this is the big asterisk, the problem comes with all of the stuff surrounding it. Loot, upgrade materials, multiple currencies, elemental scaling, and passives that don't matter.
The goods, all of the goods are here, man. Next time, gacha mechanics também.
Thankfully, you can auto-equip, so you don't have to think much about it, but you still have to do a lot of inventory management as you've only got limited slots. Everyone's favorite, trashing mass amounts of loot. This whole system for the single-player campaign feels
Diablo?
super tacked on, and it's only necessary because the enemies around you scale with whatever you have in your inventory, so you're basically required to put stuff on. I would have much rather had a few stat increases and ability unlocks more akin to your Ultimate Alliances, but unfortunately, that's not what we got. This is going to come much more into play later with multiplayer, which, speaking of, the campaign does have a few levels that support it. There's like 3 or 5 missions that support people coming in, but I really don't recommend doing that. We had a glitch happen where a friend of mine joined a mission that took tops 4 minutes, which made his campaign get restarted, and well, you could kind of see for yourself.
No.
I think it's because he selected an alt costume for Kamala, who wouldn't have any in the tutorial mission anyway, and the game said no, fall into the earth.
Oh no.
Everything is going fine. You'll definitely encounter a glitch or two and some A-posing because the scale of what they were trying to do was pretty ambitious, but playing mostly offline on the PlayStation 5 on the final update, I didn't encounter much. Well, besides this guy doing this because an enemy fell through the ground. You know, normal stuff. Let's go ahead and wrap up the story then. This whole thing was called Reassemble because he has
no.
hashtag and it's literally in the title. You basically know exactly what's going to be happening here, but there are a few smaller moments that do make it stand out. Avengers has a lot of dialogue. Several hours of it taking place not just in cutscenes, but gameplay as well. Despite what people might think of the MCU, it's
Isto é uma espécie de spin-off de Avengers, então. É tipo, em termos dos filmes. Tipo, epá, quero ver o Avengers 3. Não, espera. 4. 5? Quantos filmes de Avengers é que houve? Houve Avengers Capitão América, Avengers James Spader, I guess. E depois os últimos dois. Yeah, são estes 4. Vou buscar água. Meninos mutos. Estou a fazer festas à Zelda, pessoal. What is up, my friends? How y'all doing? Acho que vou ficar doente. Porquê? A casela estava-me aqui a lamber todo. Na cara. Vou ficar com Covid dos cães, o caralho.
not a lot of, well, that just happened, although the closed
Dog view.
captioning is on another level. It almost seems like they copy-pasted the entire script into this because I'm seeing audio descriptions so overly complicated, I wonder why it's there. Although it does lead to this great scene where Kamala and Bruce are driving. She's slurping on her drink and messing with the radio, while Banner's like a disapproving dad. There's no dialogue in the scene at all, but we've got closed captions like, Kamala slurps loudly in Bruce's direction. Some of these are ridiculous. I guess it makes sense that Square would want to show off the voice actors though, as most of them do a fantastic job bringing out these characters who have been done countless times before. I've got no issue with the story presentation whatsoever, although I do think Nolan North's Iron Man leaves a little to be desired. That's probably Robert Downey Jr. brain rot, but I think he's much better as Deadpool or Nathan Drake, which is basically what he was doing here.
The Chimera has the same standard engines as older helicarriers, kind of like a hybrid car. But, you know, cool.
Anyways, let's finish out this story. Kamala reunites the Abimbers. Tony was in his trailer park era. Black Widow totally was Tiny Dancer. Then we meet Ant-Man, who created a safe haven for Inhumans and, according to my friend, was pretty fine though. Tarleton from AIM has also been slowly turning into MODOK, short for mental organism designed only for killing, and not just a guy named Darren. It's pretty awesome watching this dude's head get all huge over time. Miss Monica, the numbers are totally fine, has been giving him a serum, slowly making him larger and more MODOK-y, and at a certain point he goes berserk and decides, what if we just kill everyone, and activates a Kree Sentry. There are appearances from other villains here too, but they're kinda jobbers in the story. When you think about it, a game launching with Taskmaster, Abomination, and MODOK as the key signature Avengers antagonists is incredibly underwhelming, considering Thanos was taking the movie world by storm. But this is what they
Maria, 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 na 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 na. Maria, 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 Maria. Falar nisso. Sexta-feira é um jantar, não é? Ok.
went with. Also, Captain America was in a space station, his body and blood being used as the basis for all the Adaptoids you've been fighting. Whatever the reason, the spectacle of Iron Man launching into space to save him is pretty dope. It's bizarre that a lot of the fun Avengers interactions don't happen till the back half of the campaign due to the way that it's structured. There's a lot of broody and one-on-one dialogue with Kamala and whoever. The villains monologue a lot, but I'm more interested as to why Thor spent 5 years away pretending to be a civilian. There's even fun codex entries on this, and like why he decided to become a dude named Donald Blake, but that's left for reading only.
What the fuck?
It feels like the whole Avengers part of this thing only kicks into high gear right at the very end before we've saved the day and hit the credits. I mean, you do get a pretty fun boss fight that has you controlling every hero before becoming Kaiju Miss Marvel and impaling a dude on the San Francisco Bridge. What an
Every hero.
irresponsible and expensive thing to do.
hero.
Superman would never. Bada bing, bada boom, Kamala's allowed to be an Avenger, the public doesn't hate them anymore, and we're left with a small cliffhanger before being allowed to hop into the real Avengers, the Endgame. Or in our case, the DLC. Or maybe you just pressed the play now button and skipped all of it, and saw a cutscene that spoiled everything. Good job. As a standalone single player experience, the main campaign of Avengers was something that I enjoyed a good bit. It's not earth shattering or anything that'll change your life, but fans of these characters and beat 'em up action games are gonna find plenty to enjoy. It's also nice to have a fun licensed game. I think I would have enjoyed a few more arcs of the characters being together, like
Qual gajo? Há muitos gajos.
5 or 7 hours of that fun action set piece gameplay, but ultimately it serves as a pretty decent origin story that is a tutorial for what's coming on the horizon. Considering my PlayStation says I have nearly 100 hours on this one, oh boy, do we have a lot. Strap in for the DLC.
Black
You
Panther.
can't have a game
Dun 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 dun. Wakanda. Dun 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 dun. Wakanda.
as a service without the service. Well, unless your name is Anthem, but Avengers got about 2 years worth of
Aí viraste para o chefe. O chefe.
updates. Almost immediately after launch day, Square announced that they will be supporting this with free characters and story missions, which
Olha, afinal estás aí? Como é que se chama o jogo que saiu?
does bring us into the world of multiplayer. And honestly, this is where Avengers has some of the best stuff. No, not the grindy content, the campaigns. While the single player mode is, well, mostly single player, part 2 through 4 of the operations all mostly support 4 players. Initially, post-game gave you a small handful of repeating missions, character-specific side quests, and a boring gear treadmill that had you grinding forever for small incremental upgrades. Nowadays, you're able to continue the story right away, and it's nice to see the additions. So, after finally
E disse de outra maneira: olha lá, eu tenho um curso de marketing. Tens? Não se arranjei mais nada para fazer que me dê mais dinheiro. Olha, fizeste exatamente o que se deve fazer.
assembling the Avengers. What Omega level threat were we going to be facing as a team? What's the big reveal? The answer was a Super Adaptoid. A bit underwhelming. The Super Adaptoid is an old
Super Adaptoid. The most daringly different supervillain of the year. Iron Man and Captain America, Tales of Suspense. Ele com certeza tem aqui o nosso programa de afiliados.
school threat that had its prominence in the comics in the 60s and 90s, but you'd think in order to push sales that they would go a bit harder. There's plenty of villains for them to potentially face,
Dá-me um link para espalhar pelas internets.
but we got this little green guy instead. If this didn't float your boat,
É tipo o rei de Shadow Legends. Ai não, espera. É tipo achar no teu anúncio de um vibrador.
it would have to be
Tipo, cliquem aqui com o coisa chado e eu vou receber coisas se vocês clicarem aqui.
Hawkeye. Better Hawkeye, Kate Bishop. According to the Endgame Codex, on a mission, Kate will have to do. Hawkeye is very fun to play as. Voiced by Ashley Birch, who does a fantastic job. She's a bright spot in both the narrative and combat. I like Bishop a lot from the comics anyways, probably mostly because I identify with some parts of her
she's cool.
personality. Specifically, humor as a defense mechanism, never shutting up and being irritating. But like, in a charming way. But also with gameplay, as she most closely resembles a Japanese-made character action game, like your Devil May Cry's or Bayonetta. She's got a mix of ranged and melee attacks with her sword and bow, multiple arrow types and parries, shadow parries, like
E quem 40% que os gajos gastarem em mensagens, sabes qual é a técnica mais usada? Qual é?
teleporting shadow parries with mid-air juggling. You can also trigger explosive
Deve
arrow
ficar fácil na
combos that you can
internet,
detonate at
para
any
dar
time.
Oh,
There's
no.
just a lot of options here. Basically, the second
Oh,
I got
man.
Kate, Thor went out the window. Bye-bye. Unfortunately, this all leads to one of my least favorite storytelling tropes, time travel. Kate is looking for Clint Hawkeye, who is revealed to be working for AIM, albeit against his will. And you have to go into the past to save him from the next DLC, Future Imperfect. Part 3,
What the
coming
fuck?
out all the way in March 2021, is a sign that they were pouring a lot of money and effort into the post-launch content. We shoot forward to the future and are playing as Old Man Hawkeye in a brand new zone, the Wastelands. You'll also notice a big old maestro there, essentially an alternate version of the Hulk without the whole good part. This whole DLC is basically the bad end from what's currently going on in the main timeline. We find out that Earth is going to be destroyed by a Kree invasion, which apparently could have been stopped with the help of good old Clint not giving up on the Avengers. So you then travel forward through time and attempt to find Nick Fury for his information, only to find that everything is totally screwed up. It turns out the heroes and the villains were trying to work together to stop the Kree invasion, and the best thing they could find was using a cosmic cube to freeze time around them. Meaning, they totally failed. No more retiring now, Hawkeye. It's time to get to work. This DLC gives us another Hawkeye to play as, who is actually very different from Kate. He's got a similar vibe, but is a bit more support and arrow-based. No teleport shadow parries though, which is a shame. It's hard for me to get used to his canon look being like a buzz cut, but at least one of his free cosmetics was his look from Matt Fraction's awesome comic on him, so I just ran with that. A pretty good DLC with a fun
see.
boss fight and a fantastic setup for the story. So, what's next? Waiting. It would be around 6 months before another
Crazy.
major update. Avengers would get a couple micro updates and
O meu chefe tem um perfil no Twitter e o melhor tweet. Ai, como escreveste com I, faz-me impressão. A que fez, com mais engage, foi a gaja que estás a dizer. Nunca fiz sexo virtual. É bom, vamos falar aqui. Link. É desta que vais arranjar um Twitter. Por acaso tem havido muitas contas a seguir-me no Twitter e todas elas são bots. Ou o teu chefe. Se calhar todas as tuas contas são o teu chefe.
smaller bits of story content, but I think COVID really impacted the whole delivery of everything. The post-launch content for this game was smack dab right in the middle of that, and you could tell it suffered because of it. Things definitely had a little less polish over time. So in August 2021, almost a full year after the game's release, we'd get the final piece of story
Mundo pequeno.
DLC and Operation War for Wakanda. Oh, and still no Spider-Man. Black Panther DLC. Can't go wrong with that. This one's pretty simple. King T'Challa put Wakanda into a state of isolation after A-Day and was planning to remain there until AIM forces decided to invade. The main villain this time around is Claw, voiced by Steve Bloom, who does a great job.
Give me your vibranium, and I won't turn your technological utopia against you.
Que voz? Não corresponde ao character. Na minha opinião, claro. Na vossa opinião pode corresponder, mas na minha não corresponde.
We've even got Crossbones, who's a bit of a jobber. The Wakanda update
Está a pensar numa coisa mais ou menos tipo um perfil do Facebook de um casal fictício a dizer encontramos-nos aqui.
added a big map with tons of environments and new puzzle types in the world. It was absolutely a needed change in scenery. At a certain point, the other Avengers joined the fight, and you know the shtick. This is a pretty well-made DLC that clearly set the stage for the potential future. And Black Panther is pretty fun to play as himself. He's weirdly kind of a command grab character, one with a charging parry that uses his suit. I didn't get too much time in with him as Kate was the most fun for me, but you can't go wrong with a double jump, unless you can straight up fly. Unlike the previous DLCs, Claw's boss fight is much more
Música do
involved
Spider-Man
and
best.
reminiscent of
Gee.
the final MODOK encounter. He's a large being with different phases, and this
Man.
whole DLC being
precisava de
multiplayer
emular
really
PSP.
made for a good experience. You've got a good looking lobby and plethora of new character interactions, and according to the roadmap, outfits inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's go. This all ends with T'Challa joining the Avengers, passing the throne to Shuri, and getting ready to take on the oncoming AIM threat and stop the Kree invasion. So of course, this is just
Sexy.
a pit stop building to another
Give me your vibranium. Sabes que eu ouvi?
big event, right? Right? Wrong.
Desinfeta primeiro. O quê? Falar nisso, devia tomar banho.
War of Wakanda would be the last major piece of story downloadable content. There'd be little bits of narrative drip with a few additional updates, but never anything that big again. Crystal Dynamics would put out a few additional characters though, namely
Ah, ok. Damn. Estamos todos muito cansados, meu. Quando é que saiu coisa? Foi há 4 anos atrás e eu ainda estou cansado. Porque foi um build-up para aí desde 2008. Eu sei que isto diz aqui 2012. Eu sei que diz 2012. Mas o build-up começou para aí em 2008. Com o Iron Man. E depois isto aqui foi... Pessoal, já está. Está feito. Então é natural que um gajo olhe para isto e fique, epá, outra vez, deixa descansar tipo 10 anos ou assim.
PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man, November 30th. Nearly 15 months after the game released, we'd finally get the feature advertised on the box. He makes an appearance as a dude who works part-time for the Avengers while also doing his own thing, which involves streaming. He also failed to make an appearance on my end since his entire
O fato está bem podre aqui de Spider-Man. Eles provavelmente foram... Eu acho que eles eram legally obligated, não? Incluir o Spider-Man no jogo, senão era tipo publicidade enganosa ou assim. Ainda assim, quantos anos? 2?
cutscene broke, so he no-showed. This game has a lot of this. Of all the main heroes here, I think Spider-Man was probably my least favorite to play. They try to do something similar to how you would expect him control, but a not as good version of it. I don't really feel like Peter fits in well with the others.
Não sabes, não fez direito. Opa, está na caixa. Eles, ainda por cima na América as pessoas processam as outras por razão nenhuma. E então eu diria que, especialmente eles sendo uma empresa grande, não é? Ou várias empresas grandes, tipo Disney e Square Enix e o caralho, eles metem o sticker do este jogo tem Spider-Man. Se não tivesse, eu acho que eles estavam completamente fucked, digo eu. Portanto, alguém teve que arranjar isto. O gajo estava a falar sobre o facto do gameplay dos outros bonecos estar muito, muito bom. E o Spider-Man, que é tipo a última cena, das últimas coisas que saiu, estar fraquinho. Eu acho que foi mesmo. Olha, nós já não temos guito para isto, mas compensa metemos qualquer coisa com o Spider-Man, porque senão vamos levar no cu forte e feio. Portanto, mete qualquer coisa, mete o Spider-Man, nem que seja só o boneco, meu. Foda-se, mete essa merda. Senão ficamos todos sem casa. Olá, Vitac, estás bom? Queria um docinho, mas comer agora não vou dormir bem.
here,
True. Tenho que me lembrar de não comer. Beber, tudo bem. Beber é na boa.
although his webbing debuff mechanic is neat. Also, yes, you will be swinging from empty space. This just kind of seems like a Sony thing that happened. After this, we'd get the inclusion of the mighty Thor, Jane Foster. Absolutely timed to come out around the same time as Thor Love and Thunder, as in 1 week
Damn, that movie was crappy.
prior. She is mostly a palette swap
Só
of
quero dar-me
Thor
pico de
Odinson.
energia.
She does have different functionality with Mjolnir, as hers is more of a homing attack, but they're like 90% the same. Although her character
Mas sabem uma coisa? Como os outros três filmes do Thor, para mim, foram uma merda. Eu não estava à espera de grande coisa com o quarto, e então não fiquei mad. Já estava... correspondeu às expectativas, não é? Ia ser merda, foi merda.
interactions are some of my favorite.
I
Mas nem
think
foi o pior.
some of the SHIELD agents are afraid of you. Well, they keep saying something about you stepping on them.
That's not what that means, Rogers.
Last and definitely not least, surprising literally everyone I know
Opa, o primeiro e o segundo foram... Se calhar aqueles que... O primeiro era o que tinha melhor visão para o Thor, mas correu mal. O segundo... Já não me lembro, mas também não foi grande coisa. O terceiro foi tipo... Os outros dois não correram bem. Bora copiar o Marvel Humor e fazer um filme genérico. E fazer as pessoas vomitar com aquele humor copy-pasted. E o quarto. O que eu gostei no quarto é que eles voltaram atrás, tipo, deram dial back um bocadinho a esse humor. No entanto, tinha aquelas cabras ou caralho que nunca mais se calavam. Por isso é ela por ela, são os dois merda.
was
São
the
todos
final
merda.
inclusion of Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. Since this
São
was
todos
so
merda, mas ao menos o primeiro estava a tentar ter. Estava a tentar dar uma personalidade diferente ao Thor dos outros characters. Mas eu percebo porque é que mudou, porque senão. Imagina, se o Thor fosse um gajo muito sério, depois também tinhas o Capitão América, que também é muito sério. Era toda a gente séria, era uma seca. Então eles precisaram. Eles precisamos fazer qualquer coisa. Este pode ser o Dude Bro. Whatever. Olha, ele até tem cabelo longo. Vai ser o Dude Bro aqui da cena.
late in development and not long before they announced the final update, this content definitely feels cheaper than the others. Most of the cutscenes are just a few characters standing around the war table from a distance, and by god, I forgot I had furry cap on. It's well acted and has a lot about how he became an Avenger, but it's clear that the end was in sight for all future content. Bucky himself is fun. He's somewhere between Cap and Natasha, which makes a lot of sense because this game depicts him as having dated Black Widow, which was always a tragic thing. By the time I had access to Bucky, I was way too deep with other characters who could fly, and Sergeant Barnes here can't even double jump, which just goes to
man.
show that yes, America is better than Hydra. Anyways, that was Marvel's Avengers. Bye-bye. Is what
That's
I would
it?
say if we weren't going for 100%, but we are. Avengers is a multiplayer co-op brawler, so we must brawl with some friends. A couple people I know actually wanted to do this with me.
Houve uma coisa que eu gostei no segundo. Foi do antagonista. Era a irmã dele, ou caralho. Já não sei quem era. Essa gaja era altamente. Olha, deve ter sido a melhor cena dos filmes todos. Portanto, Dark World, é isso. A gaja do Dark World era mesmo fixe. Se é que eu estou a pensar bem. Maybe I'm wrong. Não, ela veio do Ragnarok. Meter o Carl... O Carl Urban está aqui a fazer o quê? Quem é o Executioner? O que é que aconteceu no Dark World? Acho que ninguém se lembra. Este gajo fingiu que morreu. I guess. That's what happened. O Zachary Levi tá aqui. Opa, o Iron Man 2. Eu não considero isso bem um filme. Parecia só um commercial. Oh, peraí, volto já. Guardiões da Galáxia 3 foi o melhor filme da Marvel que eu vi desde que me lembro. I don't know. Desde o Endgame. Como é que tu não viste esse filme? Foi do caralhão. Olha, foi a despedida do. Como é que se chama o diretor? O gajo vai para a DC agora? O James Gunn. Foi despedida do James Gunn. Marvel de facto é muito merda depois do Endgame, sim. Só que para todas as regras há exceções.
For some reason, so we managed to get pretty far into the end game, but
Ou
I
como é
ended
que
up
não? Como é que se diz? A exceção faz a regra.
going a lot farther without. Avengers is a loot grinder, so
E não te esqueças, há um gajo que eles não só tentaram cancelar uma vez, como agora estou a mandá-lo embora para a DC. Portanto,
grind we must. Which actually might have been a setback because some of the trophies glitch out when you play online. So
o que eu concordo, porque já está na hora de termos filmes fixos da DC, tipo. Estou a pensar nos filmes que foram fixos da DC. O primeiro Wonder Woman e o Shazam. That's it. Eu gostei do Flash, mas não posso dizer isso na internet.
Thanks, Square. Here's where the issues begin. Every single problem I have with this game is strictly related to anything involving multiple
Ah,
players.
yeah, o Joker. O Joker foi muito bom.
Starting with the PlayStation 4
Mas o Joker foi tipo. Damn, what even? What even? Eu gostei.
debuff. If you're playing cross
Mas é porque também. Eu sou boomer e aquilo tem o. Tem o Michael Keaton, portanto. Foi por isso que eu tive que ir ver.
platform, a whole bunch of issues arrive with that. We were locked in the PlayStation 4 load time, so there's instances where a 3-second
os
loading
velhos
screen
irão
would turn into
perceber.
90 or 120 seconds of absolutely nothing, where sometimes they would just drop out. On top of that, if I needed credit for an achievement like chests opened or something, there's a high chance it didn't count. People were complaining about this on forums forever. But what is the multiplayer anyway? You pick 1 to 3 friends, pick a zone or mission, and go. These are all variations of the same basic concepts. You got drop zones where you go in and do a little quickie. You got villain sectors for a set of small fights and a boss. Vaults have little treasure hunts where you have to stand on numbered points to unlock vaults. And hives, which are little gauntlets of simple objectives. Go into a room, capture the point, kill everyone, destroy the power generator.
By the way, eu vi esse filme sozinho porque assumi que nunca na vida iria ver com alguém.
You get the idea.
E depois no fim arrependi-me de não ter ido ver com os meus amigos da faculdade e ia-nos cagar a rir com o fim daquilo.
They're like 15 to 20 minutes, give or take, and well, for the trophy, the final one I unlocked, I needed 50 of them. Even more, because I did like 15 of them online, and I'm pretty sure they didn't count. Yay! This is literally the last thing I needed for the platinum, and it probably took an entire 20 hours. You're also gonna find way more ridiculous visual glitches with other players, but these are inoffensive and mostly funny. I've seen me enough A-posing Hawkeyes to last a lifetime. Oh, also unrelated, but some of the collision detection for hero jumps is hilarious. There's elite hives, which are 14 or more floors, tachyon rifts, which are a bunch of small
Espera, só
fights
conta-
with a ticking timer you increase
Estas coisas acontecem só no multiplayer?
by picking up time like a power-up. Don't forget about events, flashbacks, Omega level threats, raids, all of these essentially the same content.
Omega
You're gonna go to
lol.
whatever zone and fight the same guys and complete the
Shhh, já falamos muito sobre isto.
same 5 objectives over and over. It is very
Como é
grindy.
que é? Bora
and the
jogar um Avengers, eu e tu? Bora aqui fazer
version
umas
that I'm
missões,
playing
meu.
is
Olha para isto.
way
Que
faster,
fixe.
so I dread what that must have felt like. The way it works now is you'll get slightly better gear than whatever you're wearing up until power level 140. This is separate from your character's level. The whole end game is literally
Level 140.
in
let's
maxing of an
go.
arbitrary gear number and like the status effects. It's a very Destiny thing. And then after 140, it's time
Mano, ainda só estamos no nível 1. Vitag, temos que chegar ao nível 140.
to raid. There's weekly objectives that'll give you nice gear, and Omega level threats are recreations or some of the boss levels from the main game with hard
Are you the law? I am the law.
mechanics along with a ticking time of tachyon rifts. It does require 4 players, so you'll be zerging through the same levels with others in order to beat whatever's in front of you. It's simple, it's easy, sure. Eventually, you're stacking exotic gear and dishing
Fuck, amanhã tenho uma caminhada combinada, mas tenho muito que trabalhar.
out different elemental attacks in order to deal ridiculous multiplier damage on everything in front of you.
Eu estou aqui esta hora porque. Desculpem estar a interromper o vídeo, eu sei que isto está a ser muito interessante. Mas eu estou aqui só para conseguir descansar a cabeça. Amanhã estás de férias? Let's go!
Despite the game feeling the same,
Tens uma consulta no IPO combinada. A que horas?
the numbers have gone up. Really, it's just an absurd amount of grinding on the same few enemies, maps, objectives, and while it may be fun for a bit,
Objectives.
unless you're really into the Avengers, this is gonna get old
10 e
quick.
20.
Never mind the fact that quick match fails a lot of the time.
Agora é a coisa com tu fazer as coisas de manhã que me deixa contente. Eu gosto que faças as coisas de manhã. Não me perguntes porquê.
Disconnects happen frequently, there's no crossplay, and having a PS4 player is like a detriment to the
Crime de ódio? Estás de férias? Vai à praia ou assim?
experience, which is probably why all my friends dropped off before the first and only full-on raid, Discordant Sound. And here's where I might need to apologize. After waiting for nearly 2 hours in lobbies, I was able to finally get a full strike team because the raid
À partida não estou cancerosa, é só para ver se tenho escarretas, não sei o que é isso, e me engasgo como um idoso.
Discordant Sound requires it. It needs player communication, information about the mechanics, your microphone's on, the ability to hear your other players, maybe enough gear
Olhem.
with a lot of resistance.
Desde as 8 da noite que não consigo parar de mexer nisto. Queria só dar o update.
For certain stats
8 foi quando eu saí para ir às compras. By the way, saí para ir às compras às 8, mas geralmente às 8 já jantei.
effects, and I had none.
Que não foi o caso. Hey, what is happening in this shitty game?
When I saw a raid in Avengers pop up, I wasn't expecting it to have ridiculous puzzle mechanics and absurd solutions on par with Final Fantasy XIV Savage Raiding or Destiny 2, but here we are. First things first though, apologies to the dudes who carried me 3/4 of the way through it before I caused this to wipe and making the Hulk rage quit the party.
Oh no.
No. When people are out there making 20 to 30 minute guides for this sort of thing, you're definitely gonna have an issue with the more casual players, which is probably what you wanted to pull in. Discordant Sound is a little raid where Claw makes a
Este jogo não tarda a estar morto, só para te avisar.
comeback and you need to communicate with others in order to pull this off.
Mas não é uma joke, acho que tem para aí 2 meses. Ou pelo menos eles vão deixar de o vender daqui a 2 meses, parece-me.
This is what you need to do to get on the grind for the best gear in the game. You'll need to have lots of prestige levels in order to get those passive stat bonuses. You'll need to have perfectly balanced stats and resolve and be
I mean, tecnicamente deve estar morto porque não deve ter player base. No entanto, eles estão a dar suporte.
using gear upgrading in order to pull your weight. Can 3 people drag someone through a raid with no mic, chat audio, or knowledge of anything? No. Though this Thor counting down with their Mjolnir 3, 2, 1 tried their best. Unfortunately, I was unable to get another run at this raid for the video, and I probably did irreparable damage to the discordant sound raiding community because of it. And that's just something I'll have to live with. But to be honest, the whole raid is ridiculously difficult and convoluted.
O que é que a Marvel podia fazer? Spider-Man 2? Um remake do Black Panther? Wait, what do you mean? Do filme?
In the first place. Some old Reddit threads I found with guides were saying that they could barely pull
O T'Challa é o LTG? Quem me dera, meu.
it off when this game
Ele era o LTG, mas também era o vilão. Como é que se chamava o vilão? Tinha um nome mesmo cool, mas já me esqueci.
had more of a player base, some saying that the item level requirement was a joke. It seems like this was notorious with the community at launch, so now I only feel kinda bad. So with that, all the trophies and everything but my arbitrary item level
Killmonger, é isso.
maxed. That's it. That's every bit of significant content that Avengers has, and I am so torn between liking and hating this game. More than anything, I feel sad at what clearly could have been. Everything bad about Avengers is strictly related to the whole games as a service thing. If they made this a normal 3D co-op brawler, or even something like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, it would have gone over way better. But unfortunately, that's not what we got. The gear grind in Avengers is mind-numbing.
No.
It's pointless. It makes you realize how shallow a lot of the enemy and objective variety is, which is bizarre considering it didn't feel like that at all in the story missions. It becomes obvious that this shouldn't have been a games as a service, despite a lot of the best parts of character combat being hidden behind it. You don't get enough time as the characters in the campaign to unlock their fullest potential, but even after you do, there's truly nothing of substance.
Acho que deixava o Killmonger, o MBJ, Michael B. Jordan, na mesma.
For them. That is, unless you choose to play your Hulk in the fart spec. That one's a classic.
You serve no
I felt like I was done with Marvel's Avengers after like 30 hours of playing the game. I had done all the story DLC, I played a lot with friends, and I did almost every single piece of content that the game had to offer. And what I played is something that I would actually recommend to people. I don't think it comes anywhere close to like Spider-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy, both of which are fantastic. But if you have like a spare week
nothing
to
to go
switch
Guardians.
things around with your friends, it's a pretty decent time. It just doesn't have anything worth staying around for. The gassy stuff is just pointless. If I were to assign an arbitrary score to
acabei de
both
ver
of
água,
these
pessoal, estão
games,
orgulhosos?
I'd probably give all of the campaigns like an 8, but the multiplayer online in-game stuff something closer to a 5.5 or a 6, and that's the bulk of the experience. Once that initial wonderment of, you know,
Imagina na última cena de combate com o Killmonger naquela fase entre vida e a morte, mas chega lá o T'Challa e em vez de ter um diálogo poético e filosófico só disse "You serve no purpose". Mas quem tem o diálogo é o Killmonger quando está a morrer. Esse é que dá um diálogo mais... É um bocado de exagero. Tipo, ei, prefiro morrer do que ser um escravo aos brancos. Ou quero. Ei, amigo, ei, tenha calma lá. Estou a ver um filme para crianças da Marvel. Eu não quero lá saber destas merdas.
playing a 3D Avengers game runs out, there's not much charm left. But I've got a few final thoughts.
Iguais que tinha lá.
I
Morreram
think
os
it's
dois, I
painfully
guess.
obvious that Marvel's Avengers was the victim of publisher and Disney meddling. The foundation of a solid game is absolutely there, and when you're air comboing Adaptoids with your friends online,
Damn, o que ele está a dizer agora, na minha opinião, é a razão pela qual estes jogos, e este jogo também, a verdadeira razão pela qual me deixa deprimido. Porquê? Porque nota-se que há aqui muito developer que estava mesmo muito, como é que eu ia dizer, a gostar do que fazia, tipo... enfim.
It's a fun
Isso é
time.
deprimente.
When you're learning about the world and watching high quality cutscenes, it's enjoyable. But the over monetization of some of the smaller
Olha para
stuff and
isto.
the timing of DLC makes it obvious they were trying to milk their player base. I like Hawkeye, I love Kate Bishop, but having that be the follow-up to the narrative seems like they were preparing a little early for the TV show the following year. The
No.
Avengers should be running around fighting off big boys together, and the amount of big bosses in this game is countable on one hand. You spend most of your time gooning it up, and this game's combat systems deserve more. The game's UI isn't great, navigating is a big pain in the butt, getting people into lobbies is awful, making selections with skill points seems to be a copy-paste Destiny thing, and it's easily the worst part of the experience. Even with the final patch, it'll mess up and you'll have no idea what's going on unless you back out. Plus, having to manually choose hubs between missions sucks. Looking into the monetization, wow, they really wanted to milk those costumes. Every character except Lady Thor has a ridiculous amount of outfits, some recolors, but a lot wholly original, and I can't imagine having to grind for each one of these. Literal dollars for cel-shaded Cap or any of that fun Halloween DLC. But nowadays, if you want to ruin every cutscene by tossing Thor into the smallest swimsuit possible, hang dong. You can tell that there was a ton of love for the characters and source material here, kinda similar to Gotham Knights. The detail on animations, especially takedowns, is on another level. There's hours and hours of small character conversations you can have walking around hubs, stuff you'd probably normally miss just because you'd be selecting missions back to back from the world map. Some insignificant, others heartfelt, even more really funny. There's a lot to be gained by just walking around and smelling the sights, and I wish this whole experience had more of that. Just the whole team feeling of the Earth's mightiest superheroes. You know, a little less, ugh, I hate you, Iron Man, and a little more,
Please tell the Hulk he won. His high fives are the hardest, and I don't want him to do them anymore.
I also love that Thor leaves Mjolnir lying down in the helicarrier so anyone can try to lift it. Of course, Cap can budget, but so can Bucky? There's fantastic and cute little animations here that just take the love another step, which makes the entire package all the more disappointing. Kate's is the best, of course. She's very smart. Square Enix wanted Avengers to be a runaway success, and based on all of the ridiculous games as a service they
Chocobo.
released around the same time, that goes without question. In a matter of 3 years, Chocobo GP, Babylon's Fall, Final Fantasy VII The Last Soldier, and now Avengers are ending the whole service part, and I think
Yep.
that's part of a shift in gaming as a whole. There's just not enough time for people to sink that much into a game, especially when you've got hundreds of these popping up year after year. And because of this, the Avengers have sunk. Despite selling over 3 million copies, it was a massive commercial failure for Square
Tony Stark punching Bruce Banner? Nah. Gostas do Pizza Tower? Também gosto, é fixe.
Enix, and I think it caused the fantastic Guardians of the Galaxy game to catch a bunch of strays. That is what this should have been, and the more I think about it, the more disappointing this becomes. Since this was a service too, that means the story is left unfinished. We're never gonna know what happens to these Avengers and AIM with the Kree invasion. I mean, it's probably a safe bet to say they would have saved the day, but all the rumors of new characters like She-Hulk and Captain Marvel led to nothing. All canceled, unreleased,
O que é que gostaste mais?
and now the whole thing is soon to be delisted. There's a neat theory about how the entire story was a fanfic from Kamala, and it actually makes a lot of sense. The way certain characters react to her, the way she's the center of the story and makes Tony Stark cry at her rousing comeback speech.
Good isn't a thing you are. It's a thing you do.
Altitude, dry ice.
The way that there's a picture of her standing with all of the Avengers on her death.
O nível do FNAF? Qual é que é o nível do FNAF? Há um horror level. O que é que achaste do level da guerra? Esse eu lembro-me porque foi diferente de todos os outros. O dos jumpscares. Já não me lembro.
Despite that not happening, well, none of that matters since the story will forever go unfinished. I do think that there's a decent game worth playing
É um que tem fantasmas e às vezes atravessas a parede.
here, especially if you like single player campaigns. It won't blow your mind, but considering you can pick this up for like $7 on sale and you get everything, there's absolutely fun to be had. I beat Avengers and all the DLC 100%, so you don't have to, but I do think it's worth trying. If anything, you can just enjoy the visual glitches online. So not 100, but maybe like
O dos porcos. Porque porcos taxistas e porcos polícia. Porcos polícias e assim, foi engraçado. É tipo em Nova York, ou some shit.
92%, because there's a glitch that makes the number stuck here, and it'll be like that forever. Let's go! There we have it. Embracer Group, Square Enix's, Crystal Dynamics' Marvel's Avengers in the bag. It seems like if you follow the patches
Isso é muito engraçado.
and updates, this game had entire periods where it was like unplayable, really glitchy.
Pois é. Eu gostava de. Eu gostava de perceber de onde é que veio haver uma conversa sobre o overall design daquilo. Gostava mesmo de saber, tipo, ver os designers a falar daquilo, assim.
And just had
Game designer.
waves of being unfun. But in its final state, I do think that there's a game worth playing here. Just, pick it up cheap. It's really cheap. Turns out when you remove all the games as a
Dude,
service
quanto tempo é que
nonsense,
este vídeo
make all the
tem?
costumes free, and
44 minutos. Hold on. Isso são 44 minutos e eu estou a 1h14.
just give the players the game, it's a decent time. And
The
because of that,
game.
like, 5 friends of mine all wanted to play with me at the same time, which was wild. Avengers in 2023, are you kidding? Games as a service seem to be falling out of style these days, but there's still so many of them that are now currently.
A cena que mais louvo naquele jogo é que cada nível tem a sua própria mecânica. Sim. Eu não sei se cada nível tem. Acho que sim. Também senti isso, sim. Já era quando vais para um nível novo, não sabes o que esperar. E isso é um bom feel.
Failing that I would love to talk about at some point. Now that
Não
Avengers
estás a
is
jogar
done,
golfe, noutros estás a. Whatever.
the first thing that comes to mind is like Anthem, actually. So if you want to see that or something else, let me know down in the comments. Let's get gassy. If you like today's video, check out the sponsor, Play Asia, with my code Eruption. Consider supporting the Patreon, buying a t-shirt over at the Pixel Empire, or, just liking the video or doing a comment or something. You know how this works. It all helps the algorithm.
Eu gosto de coisas repetitivas, portanto, isso para mim não é um bom selling point. No entanto, aprecio bastante esse aspecto. Para quem não aguenta coisas repetitivas, é o jogo perfeito.
Anyways, I've been Austin, and I think we probably need to take a step away from Marvel for a second, as much as I love reading comics and would love to talk about the new Guardians of the Galaxy. I say new, it's like 2 years old now. I'll give you guys a break. So, catch me next time when, speaking about canceled
Melhor jogo de 2023. Ai. Estás a ouvir isto, Toga?
games, and maybe some that were unreleased, we talk about some of those. Gotta love ROM leaks. Thank you all so much for
jogos é que
watching.
saíram desde...
Special
Vou ter
Patreon
que fazer isto
shout-out
outra
to
vez,
Aaron
não vou?
Kolek, Arya Banana, Blackfoot Ferret, Blake Thomas, Cheeks, Chris Shelton, Doug Prince, DX
Bem,
Buster, Dave
gostei muito. É melhor ser a Wikipédia. Está aqui a Wikipédia. Sei lá, saiu o Pizza Tower. Oh mano, tenha calma. Olha, porque é que isto... Como assim? Isto é maio, mas isto é fevereiro. $90 em 100. Wait, I don't care about those. São os critically acclaimed. Sim, o Resident Evil 4, que é muito bom. What even is roguelike? Oh, I was supposed to get this. E teve barato uma vez. Este jogo nunca tem descontos. À exceção uma vez. Há um mês ou assim. Por acaso, Pizza Tower devia estar ali. Critically acclaimed. O que é que são críticos? IGN. 9 em 10. Isto devia ser critically acclaimed, não é? Estes são críticos. E estão a aclamar. É esta a definição. E é 9 em 10 é 90 em 100. Sabes que isto é uma discussão que o pessoal que vem das matemáticas, se calhar nunca falei com ninguém das matemáticas, mas é uma discussão que eu sempre tive com o pessoal, tipo, olha, 9 em 10 é a mesma merda que 90 em 100, ok? E o pessoal sempre me disse, não é nada, não tem nada a ver. Eu, what the fuck? Eu só falo com pessoas de letras ou assim. Porquê é que achas que diz aqui PS5? Oh fuck, onde é que está o Rogue Legacy? Porquê é que achas que diz PS5? PS5 só está aqui que é para dar bump aos jogos de outros anos. Quando é que achas que o Metroid Prime saiu? Foi para aí em 2001. Ok, pronto. Pronto, pá, 2002, vá. Deixa ver outro. O Metacritic é o que junta tudo. Ei, é só 89. Começa a 89, olha, pronto, já não vai dar, já não entra aqui na lista. Deve ser por causa disso. Aposto que é por causa disso. Este average score vem do Metacritic 100%, bro. Olha, 24 de julho houve qualquer coisa da Tencent, mas tipo, announce its intent to acquire majority. Wow, amazing. QuakeCon returns. I don't. Pokémon World Championships. Se queres ver crianças de 12 anos a jogar Pokémon, está aqui. Pokémon World Championships. Gamescom. Está-se bem, deve ser fixe. Tokyo Game Show. Notable deaths. Jesus, that's grim. Man, isto não saiu este ano, mas fucking PS5. Eu li Fire Emblem Enrage. O Tekken World Tour não é um grande evento. Olha o Pisa Tower aqui. Torre de Pisa. Wait, Torre de Pisa é o nome da empresa e do publisher? São os dois. Self-publish. Vamos descobrir que Torre de Pisa é o Some Guy, certo? Onde é que está a data? 27 de quê? De janeiro. Sim, em janeiro. Rhythm Sprout. Espera aí, deixa-me meter isto outra vez. Isto foi que eu meti no início da... Que cenário, mano. Newgrounds. O que eu curto nisto é a vibe de Mega Drive. Soundtracks Mega Drive overall eram isto. Shitover. Catan Console Edition. Pera, já não há... Eu lembro do Catan na DS, meu. PP Pizza Sample. Puppet Master, the game. Fitness Boxing, Fist of the North Star. Agora já percebo porque é que este jogo vale 300€. Não te esqueças de fazer 100%. Porquê que eu cliquei nisto? Survival Horror Role-Playing Submarine Simulator. Jesus, bro. Ganda Hot Wheels. Olha o Vernal Edge. Damn. Por falar em... qual é o nome? Por falar em backlog. Jesus. Olhei para este jogo e pensei, este jogo é perfeitamente perfeito para mim. Porquê? Está aqui. Pumba. Depois não joguei. O que é o Blade of Darkness? Se diz Darkness... Ih, morros. Jesus. Saiu na Switch anteontem. É isso que quer dizer? Não. Saiu na Switch antes disto. What's the deal, man? Vai ser uma dor de cabeça. Tens que limpar os níveis inteiros, secrets. Dar voltas. Tens de dar mais lápis, que é para aumentar o score, acho eu. Para poder chegar a Super Pizza Score, o caralho. Mighty Doom. Remnant. Este é o Remnant 2? Não, saiu mais tarde na Switch. Supostamente este jogo é muito fixe. O Remnant. Saiu o Remnant 2. Respondi à Joana, mas por e-mail? Concluí que queria desabafar sobre estar numa fase com muita ansiedade. Não gostaste do Remnant? Ok, fair enough. Mas jogaste com o teu amigo Alepão? Resident Evil 4 March 9 Years of Shadows. Damn, este jogo é tão bonito, mas depois só faz merda. Não é só, mas é tipo, faz merda muitas vezes. Ganda Last of Us. Este foi o jogo do ano, pá. Oh, amigo, este é o jogo do ano, pá. Porquê que existe 2022 Action Adventure Game? Ah, remake. Ok. Foda-se, mas esta frase não, eu tenho que discordar 100%. 2022 Action Adventure Game? What? Stop lying. Fucking lawyers. Olha, em março saiu o Sifu. Mas espera, isto deve ser Sifu versão PC. Steam, desculpa. Ou seja, foi para o PC. Xbox 1 e XXX. Piorou. Ainda não joguei o Murder of the Sonic de Hedgehog Bochok. Shibok. Atari Mania. Meteor Maker. Não sei o que é nada disto. Olha, isto está em desconto. Pá, em 1 cêntimo mais barato. Mas eu não quero isto. Eu acho que não quero isto. Apesar de estar na minha wishlist, eu acho que não quero isto. Vamos tirá-lo. Ou não. Estou cansado. e de humor duvidoso. Duvidoso? Estás a rir das minhas piadas. Isto é muito épico. Estou a gostar. Oh, não passa à frente. Amazing gameplay. Ah, ok. Vocês jogariam isto? Ah, não. No price is too high. Pff, mais do que 5 euritos. Se vocês quisessem mudar o... Se vocês quisessem mudar este trailer com o intuito de pôr a vender, como é que vocês fariam? Isso é mesmo interessante. Porque eu estou a olhar para o jogo e estou a pensar, este jogo não parece mau. No entanto, este trailer é bem podre. Parece que não estão a puxar às pessoas certas. Mas eu acho que podias pegar noutras coisas do gameplay e juntar de outra maneira qualquer e fazer com que isto fosse super aliciante. Claramente o jogo é interessante. As pessoas gostam, as pessoas que jogaram, não é? Claro que aqui o Flexo, deixa eu ver o que é que ele disse. This game is for children and for children only. The fighting system is disgusting. Especially when the boss can heal himself and you can't. Wait, how is that for children? And gets repetitive very fast. Olha, ele concorda contigo. Na cena que repetitivo, mau. Always the same narrow space with the same attacks on the same two types of enemies. You have to switch between your two natures during the fight, and the melee attack is nearly useless because if you get too close to an enemy, you die in no time. The puzzles in between are fun, but that's all. Kind of fun, but that's all. Don't buy it. Ok, quero ver outra. Negativa. This game has an intriguing story and an interesting choices. I never enjoyed the combat but found it tolerable. The enemies are too small and unreadable. Combos are needlessly hard to perform. Abilities are few and uninteresting. The game starts well, with a focus on story and exploration, but unfortunately devolves into a gauntlet of frequent, samey, and increasingly difficult combat encounters. In the end, it presented a blocking dexterity-based puzzle that I could not pass, and I had to abandon the game. I'm living with a bad taste and do not recommend it. Jogaste o Batorá? Muito mid. É assim, eu pus na minha wishlist, mas depois foi tipo, deixa lá, há outros jogos. Não vou dar, qual é a palavra? Não vou dar prioridade a isso, não vou dar prioridade. I couldn't get past the first 30 minutes. The writing and story are annoying, the combat is clunky and stale, and overall it's pretty meh. It's pretty meh. First of all, this is not a Diabloid, as someone may think after watching demos. This also cannot be called an RPG. The correct definition would be an isometric action game. There is no actual character development. Despite our character gaining experience and level up, we are unable to influence the way she evolves, such as distributing attribute points, choosing abilities, or anything else. All skills are unlocked automatically as the story progresses. Oh my god, what a text! It's Diablo fans. Look at this shit. Jesus Christ. Nice essay. Not recommended. Just meh. Okay, good enough for me. Really early review, but the gameplay just wasn't fun. Story characters didn't feel very good. Ok, para ser justo, alguém que tenha gostado, mas que não tenha um fucking diary entry. Game key given to me by a friend that thought I might like it, and I enjoyed the story and the characters. Combat gets a bit repetitive after a while, but still fun. Would recommend. Damn, até as pessoas que gostam acham repetitivo. Se fizeres um típico top-down action game, é este o jogo. Não me estou a lembrar de nenhum típico top-down action game. Agora vou ser honesto, não estou a tentar ser contrarian. Talented voice acting, beautiful artworks, good story progression. Gameplay matches the story, no cheap filters to make the game unnecessarily long. Easy achievement. Wait, what does easy achievement means? Os achievements do Steam? That's the good, the bad. It still has bugs and it randomly freezes briefly on Steam Deck, though already being verified and set to low settings. The protagonist has a lot of unnecessary lines. Oh, quando os characters não param de se calar. Espera, nunca mais calam. Como podes ver, muitos deles dizem que o gameplay é. Pois, repara, sabes uma cena? Eu estou a ler os recommended e eles parecem non-recommended. Qual é o contrário de recommended? Not recommended. A mim está-me a parecer. Olha para isto. Logo na primeira linha. I had a good time with But I lost Heaven. But. É logo. But. A Steam devia ter uma análise neutra. O que é que isso quer dizer? Uma análise neutra. Eu prefiro assim. Pessoas simplesmente a escreverem o que sentem. Porque tipo, tu se leres um bocado, ok, tens é que ler um bocado, não pode, um sistema de números não é bom o suficiente. But um sistema de números não é bom o suficiente. Se fosse bom, nós ainda víamos a GameSpot e merdas assim do género. Mas quando lês o texto, dá para perceber que no fundo ninguém gostou do jogo. Não é? É aquela cena. It's a game. Guys, it's a game. Very positive. No entanto, se olhares bem, isto aqui é mixed. Eu não tenho. Como é que eu tiro o filtro que tinha? Se o pessoal que fala inglês é mixed, mas se for o pessoal de todo o mundo, já não é mixed. Like dislike também não é propriamente correto para refletir a qualidade do jogo. Por acaso, nota-se que isto é um bocadinho, por exemplo, aqui é um bocadinho enganador. Very positive. E eu só sinto agora que isto é um bocado enganador. Porquê? Porque eu cheguei aqui e perdi algum tempo a ler algumas negativas e algumas positivas. E no fundo senti que as negativas eram iguais às positivas. Que eu li, claro, que depois tens aqui esta que de certeza que vai ser diferente. Fun gameplay, amazing looking cutscenes and scenery looks great. Terrible protagonist. Ai, tenho nunca mais cala síndrome, aposto. I hate that fucking trope. Just meh. Vai de 0 a 100? Sim, mas tens que ler, por acaso, sim. Uma coisa que, é assim, eu não acho números assim tão bom quanto isso. No entanto, a verdade é que o que eu estou a ler aqui não corresponde com isto, com very positive. Mas também eu não estou a ler tudo. E também se fosse ler tudo não conseguia sequer porque muita coisa está em chinês. Mal, mal tirei o filtro da língua, ficou tudo em chinês. Vou tirar isto da wishlist. Eu quero este, mas 20%? Não, 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 não. Tenho que poupar mais. Então, é mandarim. Pronto, tinha que vir. Tinha que vir. Olha, eu quero muito este jogo. Quando é que isto sai? 16 de agosto. Daqui a 15 dias. Daqui a 15 dias. Este parece fucking fun. Será que isso vai ser o Sifu 2? Isto é o Sifu 2. Olha, eu nem te respondo a isso. Not relevant.
Stop this nonsense now. Come on, amigo. Try to fight me at least. This is an ambush, Volador! On guard.
Damn. Tenho um demo, mas eu não jogo demos de coisas que quero jogar. Espera, eu não jogo demos. Bem, eu vou-me retirar. Eu não estou a morrer de sono, mas eu vou tentar ir descansar antes de ficar exausto. Uma coisa que eu constatei, pessoal, sobre. Agora sobre outra coisa. É que ir para a cama exausto é muito pior do que ir para a cama antes de estar exausto.
A challenge. I like that. Come at me.
A Dália de Volador. Há aqui qualquer piada com o nome dela, certo?
Catch this. Maybe next time.
Alguém a chamou a imbecil. Está na hora de jogar este jogo outra vez. Sabes que vais dar o base? Fazes tu muito bem. Durmam bem, obrigado pela companhia e até amanhã. Beijinhos, beijolos.